Hello everybody and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. And the Stormers have just edged the Sharks in a very, very wet and messy encounter in Durban, 25 points to 22. Tim Swiel once again kicking the winners' points with a late penalty. Not quite after the buzzer this time as it was a week ago, but still the difference between the two sides. And I think a very fair reflection of the game, I think, is with that being quite close, but the Stormers edging it. The Sharks started like a house on fire. That first 10, 15 minutes, they were all over the Stormers, but the Stormers really sort of found their way back in, started winning the small battles, and really got themselves on the front foot. Before we look at the game as a whole, please do smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let me know what you thought of the game down in the comments below. Right, so if we look at what's happened in the game in terms of a bit of a sort of blow by blow. So we started with an early penalty from Curran Bosch in the 9th minute after Abner van Renen missed a pretty poor, he had a terrible day with the boot. I think it was 40% kicking success rate was Abner van Renen, which is a big part of why the Stormers almost lost that game. But he had an early penalty attempt and missed it in the, I think it was about the 7th or 8th minute. We'll check here. So yeah, 7th minute he missed a kick, but then Curran Bosch decided to say, right, well, you can't kick, I can. He slotted a 60-meter effort in the 9th minute, a brilliant effort from him. And then the Sharks were all on the attack for the next 10 minutes. Eventually, Oxenchair went over in the 19th minute after some very good phases played there by him. And Curran Bosch converted. But then, out of nowhere, the Stormers were under a lot of pressure. And Edwin van der Merwe had a brilliant counter-attacking try. Got the ball in his own half. Missed tackle by Thomas du Toit. He then got away from JD van der Mesh. Apelele Fassi decides to, apply some sunscreen. It was a terrible tackle attempt on him. But Edwin van der Merwe went all the way. He, in fact, actually scored a brace today. But he hit back on the 24th minute and Abner van Renen converted. And then 10 minutes later, Edwin van der Merwe was over again after some sustained pressure. This time, Abner van Renen kicking it again. So the Sharks went into half-time. I think it was 12-10 down. And I'm not going to lie to you. And yeah, it was 12-10 down at half-time. And I think the important thing for the Sharks is that they needed to come back and go back to where they were at the beginning. Because, I think it was in the 22nd moment, the Sharks only had to make like 4 tackles or something stupid. Because they had so much possession. They had about 80% of the possession. But then the Stormers sort of ground their way back into a lead. And then after half-time, the Sharks, it was very important they started well, and they didn't. Pieter-Steph du Toit crossed the try line on the 41st minute. A very good piece of play. Bongi Manambi sucked into defenders, an inside ball for Hershey Yankees, who then ran himself and eventually managed to get an offload out to Pieter-Steph du Toit, who then had the pace. He went over, Abner van Renen added the extras, and suddenly the Stormers were 19-10 up and looking very good. But, moments like in the first half, all of a sudden, a bit of magic from Siya Kolisi. A very good ball out wide from Jaden Henderson. Siya Kolisi sat Ronald down with a little push onto the floor, and then timed the pass perfectly to Jal Penkler. He sucked in Sergio Peterson, and Penkler had all the pace in the world to run over and dot down. Then the Stormers were once again all over the Sharks, and I think it was Abner van Renen or Tim Swiel threw a pass which actually came off the head of Jal Penkler, and Apelele Fassi was very quick to it. He kicked the ball ahead. Edwin van der Merwe was a bit late to react. I suppose if you're going to be a bit harsh, and Apelele Fassi ran the length of the field with the ball on the ground, eventually managed to pick it up and go over. Curran Bosch added the extras, but then it came down to Tim Swiel coming onto the field. He also missed, I think, quite an easy attempt, but he kicked 2 penalties to get the Stormers that lead. Swiel, of course, he got a yellow card in the 68th minute, so the Stormers will play against a 40-man Sharks side, and that was kind of the difference. It was kind of the final nail in the coffin for them. So, yeah, it was a deserved victory, I think, from the Stormers. From the Sharks, once again, I think you're going to look at that pack, and you think that pack is really struggling to compete. But it was pretty even a lot of the game. But it was the Stormers pack, I think, which won them the game. I think that was always going to be the case. We said so in our preview. We said that Stormers pack is very good. And, if we look at the stats, there really are not much between them. 50% possession, 50% for each side, obviously. 4 defenders beaten each side. Clean breaks. We've got 4 from each side. Meters run, 267 from the Sharks, 234 from the Stormers. Yeah, it's all it's 12 defenders each on Ultimate Rugby here. Gain line carries 54 by the Sharks, 35 from the Stormers. Turnovers 1, 4 from the Sharks, 2 from the Stormers. Kicks from hand 20-21. That was all very similar. But here's the difference here. Stormers with an 83% tackle success rate, making 57 of their 69 tackles compared to 77% from the Sharks. 41 of 53 tackles made. Goal success rate for the Sharks was 75%. Curran Bosch landing 3 of his 4 For the Stormers, just 50%. Abner van Renen operating at 40% there, and I think Tim Swiel finished on about 66%. He got 2 and missed 1. Line-out success rate. The line was a bit of a problem for the Sharks. They won just 6 of their 10 line-outs. So that's 60% line-out success rate. The Stormers, on the other hand, 100% line-out success rate, winning 7 of their 7. The scrums were very, very even. There was a very, very interesting scrum battle between specifically Oxenchair and Frans Malherbe. Frans Malherbe was penalised twice pretty early on, but responded very well. The Sharks won 3 of their 5 scrums, and the Stormers won 5 of their 7 scrums. So penalties conceded. It was 17 by the Sharks and 19 by the Stormers. The Sharks conceding 10 in the Stormers half. It was all pretty even, to be honest. But then, obviously, the Sharks getting that yellow card. In terms of individual players, I thought Hershey Yankees was terrific. Probably the best game I've seen him play since we've returned. I thought Sekulisi was very, very good. The Sharks didn't have to do a lot of defending, so his tackling wasn't... he didn't miss tackle. He doesn't miss tackles. Sekulisi doesn't really miss tackles. But I know he's somebody in the spotlight. Oxenchair, both front rows I thought were pretty good. Lakanya struggled to get into the game a little bit. Rix Pretorius, I thought when he was used was quite good. Edel van der Merwe was probably the man of the match. I mean, that try was something out of nothing. He scored 2, ran 70 meters. Big defensive efforts. I thought P-Steph the Toy was very impressive. He made 10 tackles, missing just 2. Marvin Ory made 11 tackles, missing just 1. Another big defensive effort came from Evan Ruhr, 7 tackles and none missed. A turnover 1 as well. Peter Engelbrecht made 8 tackles, missed just 2. So yeah, I mean the Stormers did the bulk of the defending. Looking at the Sharks, the big defenders were Timberlani Bully, who made 7 tackles and missed 2. Henko Fenton made 6 and missed 1. Maurice Lowe made 6, missed 1. Oxenchair made 8, missed none. And Steven Kutzoff made 8 and missed 1. So yeah, I mean defensively, pretty solid efforts on both sides. The big worry is Sekulisi went off injured, which is not good to see from the box. I thought it was one of the better games. He's been getting progressively better. And he said it himself. He said he needs time. He needs time on the field and he'll build himself back into form. And that has been the case. He was the best tackler on the field last week against the Bulls. And today, suddenly, try assist looked very good. And then went off injured. So it's a bit of a worry for the box. But for the Sharks, it's just a side that, they just can't quite put it together, can they? I think they need to sort of try and keep the ball alive a bit more. Try and go back to not kicking it as much. That is, I mean, when you've got players like Apele Fassi, Spoon Corsi, Penkler, Lukanya, you've got the talent there. You're going to add Makazula Mapimpi. You've got the talent there. You've got to use it though. You've got to get these players into gaps. You've got to try and use the ball a bit more. You can't just be chasing down the ball for 80 minutes. And that's what the Stormers did quite well. They used the ball a lot better, which is why they managed to get some more possession after early pressure. I mean, they were 30% possession after the first 20 minutes, and yet managed to claw back to almost 50% possession. Let me know what you thought of the game down below. I think it was a very good performance when the Stormers looked much better. It was a very messy game because the conditions were fairly horrific. So nothing really to write home about. We're not going to be watching the highlights of this game, but quite a few tries. It was a reasonable high-scoring game, 47 points. We can't really complain about that, can we? And we move on. We'll be live for the Bulls versus the Sharks game. I mean, Bulls versus Lions. I've been saying Bulls versus Sharks all day. Bulls versus Lions. We'll have a review up as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you very soon.